Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Will Snyder. I'm a sales and charter broker with 26 North Yachts. Welcome to our ongoing series about COVID-19 and its impact on the yachting industry. We've covered a lot of ground over our first three webinars discussing issues relevant to both buyers and sellers, and you can find everything that we've done on our YouTube channel, and we really hope you check it out. We've got a great episode lined up for today. We're going to be speaking with Grant Henderson, who's been in the yachting industry for nearly 20 years at this point in a series of progressively more senior sales roles. Today, he's the sales director for the Americas for Baglietto Yachts. Baglietto Yachts is one of the most storied names in our industry. Headquartered in Italy, they've been building boats since 1854. Today, they build fully custom steel and aluminum yachts up to 70 meters. So needless to say, we can't wait to hear what Grant has to say to us this morning. Also joining us, as always, is Mike Carlson, co-founder of 26 North Yachts. For the next 15 or 20 minutes or so, Mike and Grant are going to be exploring various issues related to Baglietto Yachts, as well as the current status of new construction in Europe and globally. We think it's going to be an amazing conversation. After that, we're going to be rolling into our Q&A for 10 minutes or so, and that's where you guys come in. We have loved the questions over our first three webinars, and we're sure that trend will continue today. So please, anything that crosses your mind during the course of this presentation, feel free to fire away. And so without further ado, I want to say good morning to you, Mike, and to Grant.
Good morning. Thanks for, here we are again. And Grant, we appreciate you being a part of this and look forward to kind of having a discussion on new construction, specifically what's going on with Baglietto over in Italy, which was obviously a high impacted area, was the entire world. But so kind of getting started. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's certainly unique times that we're going through, and it's these webinars have done a handful of them. They're a great way to continue to connect with our community, our yachting community, and stay in touch and get to beat on what's going on. And it's always nice to hear different opinions from different people and different aspects of the industry. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, so I think as we get started, it's like thinking, kind of question one, the first question I think that a lot of people are going to ask from a new construction standpoint, especially also based in Italy, is like, how has this pandemic impacted Baglietto, and what actions kind of have they taken so far?
Yeah, so obviously we are in La Spezia, which is about 2 hours due south of Milan, where essentially the epicenter was. So the shipyard was hit fairly hard. We limited production as things ramped up. About a month and a half ago, the production would start to be limited. People that were coming in was limited. Workers were coming in was limited, and eventually, obviously, the business was deemed as non-essential. So the CEO shut the shipyard down. We had a couple opening dates in early April, mid-April, which the Prime Minister of Italy had said, no, you're still not going to open up. It's still not safe enough. And we have an opening date now of May 4th. So about a week and a half from now, we'll be up and running. We'll be at limited production for probably at least the first month or so. The first thing we will work on are our delivery, our soonest or nearest deliveries, which we have 2 boats that should have delivered in late March and one in May. So we will start production on those boats immediately, and then as we move forward, it'll be a slow burn. Essentially, the shipyard will open up with less limitations every week until it's at full capacity, which I'm not quite sure how long that'll take. It'll probably be a month or two before that happens. But the market, everybody is still working. The project engineers, the project managers are all still working at home. There's still a lot of work to be done because we do have a couple new contracts that we've signed up. So that is still moving forward. The marketing is still going forward. So haven't really, other than the shipyard being shut, we're very much looking forward to that May 4th date where we can resume production.
Yeah, so someone that is, so talking about someone that signed a new contract recently, it's like, how does that communicate, given the circumstances, I myself, as well as a number of guys from 26 North Yachts have visited Baglietto in Italy. And it's, it's obviously a very hugely impressive facility. But how does that impact from a customer standpoint? Is signing a new contract, I imagine obviously being on site and visiting the yard is key and very critical to the entire process. But like your communication now, is it a lot like this, or what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a lot like this, and it's really just being there for the customer. So, for example, at the Miami Boat Show, we announced that we signed a 38-meter, very unique project by Francesco Pascoschi for an American and New Yorker, a guy that's had built multiple smaller boats. And then actually about 3 weeks ago, we signed a bit of a larger project to an Italian, another design by Francesco Pascoschi. And so despite this COVID-19, it's these projects are both moving forward. Now the customers are, everything essentially just put on pause. They're still moving forward, and you're just doing some hand holding, to let them know we're going to get through this, but continuing with the design of the boat, the drawings of the boat, still working on mechanics. These are both new platforms, so we'll have to tank test and engineer. But everything is really just continuing to move forward. There's really not that much changes other than the actual production of the boat, the cutting of the steel has not begun. So yeah, a lot of the interaction is just like this. And I've talked to a few people about this, and how these Zoom calls are great. These webinars are great. It's what we need to do right now to stay in touch with the industry, to stay in touch with colleagues, stay in touch with our clientele. But getting back, we can do these till we're blue in the face, but 5 minutes face to face with a customer is still what we're yearning to get back to. And then so it'll be much easier when we get to that. So at this point, with our customers that sign new builds, it's just keeping in touch with them on platforms like this as much as we can.
Yeah, right. So what capacity is the shipyard currently at right now? It's like, what sort of availability do you have for new builds?
Yeah, so we just to give you a breakdown of what exactly we're doing, everything we're doing. We have a 38-meter and then a little bit larger. Can't go into what the new Italian is building, but a little bit larger than that are brand new builds that are, again, we haven't even cut the steel yet. So they only exist on paper, but there will be new platforms, new designs, both Francesco Pascoschi, and so they're beautiful boats. We have a 43-meter that is the 8th hull we will have done. A very iconic boat, all aluminum, fast boat, can cruise at 26 knots. In fact, the owner of the shipyard has the latest one we built called Pachamama. A very iconic boat, kind of what gave Baglietto its, what made him famous in the 90s for was that design. And then and that's available. We're building that on spec. It is available. We have a 48-meter that we're building for a Brazilian that lives in Miami. The boat will be kept in Miami Beach as well. That's hull number 5 of that series that we've done. And again, that was supposed to launch in March of 2021. Obviously, that'll probably be pushed back a little bit, but it'll still make the summer season in the Med. And then we're building a 6 48-meter on spec. Again, that's something that's very early on in production that will be delayed a bit as well. But that is another boat that we're building on spec that is available. It's the 6th one that we've done, so it's a proven platform, good haul, just under 500 GT. And then our latest deliveries that we're talking about is a 40-meter, all aluminum, raised pilot house, Horatio boat so design, that is being built for another American, another New Yorker. And we were supposed to launch the boat last month, and obviously that'll be delayed. We've been working with him just like this on almost a daily basis, and again, he's been patient, frustrated, but he's been patient. And then the last thing that we have in production is a 54-meter for a Mexican. That's a massive boat. Hot Lab design, is the interior designer, and it's almost 900 GT and a 500 and a 54-meter boat. So it's a massive interior volume boat, and that was supposed to launch in May. So obviously that'll be delayed as well. And those will be the 40-meter and the 54-meter will be the 2 boats that will start as soon as we can on May 4th. So, right now, if it was normal circumstances, the shipyard is incredibly busy. We're a shipyard that doesn't work in volume. We work in projects. We only want to deliver 2 to 3 boats a year. We're not looking to anywhere near production. We want to do customization. So for the projects that we have on our boat right now, in normal circumstances, again, we'd be very happy. But obviously everything's a little bit delayed. The 54 meter and the 40 meter customer have been very patient because they understand it's not our fault, just like everybody else. We're going all of this together. And unfortunately, they've had to capitulate the Med season. They can't use their boats in the Med this summer. So they'll see their boats on this side in the fall season.
How many of your boats do you see that will go into to charter, if any?
Quite the last 2. So last week, the hull number 4, the 48 meter Silver Fox, which we delivered 1.5 years ago, and the 55 meter called Severance, which we debuted at the Monaco Boat Show in 2019. Both of those owners started off saying, "No, I want to use my toy." Very proud of this. They were very involved in the build process. So they both were, I'm never going to charter. I don't want anybody sleeping in my sheets. And both are now putting their boats into charter.
Yeah.
That happened before all this COVID stuff, that they had decided they essentially used the boat for one season. Said, yeah, we're using the boat, but let's get it into charter. So both put the 2 latest deliveries are now both into charter.
Okay. And with charter being as disrupted as it has been, whether here in the U.S. or especially in the Med, do you see that having an impact?
Yeah, I think it will. But I do think when it gets back into it, I think charter is going to be one of the first things that may pick up the quickest. And again,
Right.
I'm in the new construction era part of it, so I don't pretend to think that I'm any type of charter specialist. But the way I see it, I think that charter will pick up the quickest because I think it's an easy and quick way to get back into boating.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, it's like, having been involved with other builds in the past too, it's like, I think just in the last few years, there's been so many new builders come to market on all size boats where it's almost been somewhat oversaturated with new construction boats. It's what can you tell us just as far as like the history of Baglietto, but as well as like the financial strength going through something like this? Because I think that is a question that will come up certainly in the future. If someone's going to invest a significant amount of money in a new build, they want to make sure that the shipyard is solid. As there's that can be an issue with some of these smaller yards. Not saying that for you guys, but can you shed a little light on that?
Sure, and that's something that sets us apart a little bit, Mike, is that you do have a lot of these shipyards that have popped up here and there and different shapes and sizes and whatnot. And one thing that's unique about Baglietto is its history, as Will stated in the opening. It's been around since 1854. I got really heavily involved in shipbuilding in World War I and World War II. And we are still building boats for the Italian Navy right now as well. So the heritage and the history is very important for all of our customers. That's part of the reason that they're with us, is they want a storied shipyard. They've had production boats in the past. That's been well and good. Now they're seasoned yachtsmen. And so they know exactly what they want. They know where they want a boat. They know how they want a boat. And the only way to get that way is to build. And that's where we come into play. And so the heritage of the shipyard always is a big factor when it comes to a customer making their decision. And to touch on what you said as well is our strong financial shoulders. I mean, that's when you're building a boat. For us, if it's already been a platform we've used, it's at least 24-month build time. If it's not, it's going to be more. And then depending on the size, it stretches out. So that's a long time to be with somebody when building an asset of this caliber. Mm-hmm. And so you have to make sure that the shipyard is not going to evaporate during that time. And so we are owned by the Gavio Group, which is a solely owned Italian family that is in the roadway business. They're the 4th largest roadway and toll builder on the planet. They're all throughout Italy and Europe. They're in Brazil, and they're in New York and New Jersey. And he owns all three of the shipyards. He owns Valleto, he owns Cherry Cantieri Navale, CCN, which is just about 20 miles south of Valleto in Corona. And he owns Bertram, the sport fish builder in Tampa, which are doing some really unique, cool things right now and launching some new models as well. So that's a huge factor about what our customers, when they get into it, is Mr. Gavio is involved in the deals, and he knows that if we go through times like this, we do have strong financial shoulders to rest on if we need it. And that's why that also gives us the ability to build large boats on spec. We have a 43 meter that we're building on spec, and we're doing a third 48 meter that we're building on spec. And that's something that sets us apart as well, because when you're getting into one of these big projects and these big custom projects, we're working with 35-year-olds and we're working with 85-year-olds, and they all both have the same issue, is timing. I don't want to wait that long. I don't want to wait that long. So building something on spec and be able to shave a month or 6 months off, that's a big deal. That can set us apart from other shipyards as well, if they can just shave a little bit of time.
How long do you think this is set back just to date, or with a anticipating opening back up beginning of May? I mean, what has this set back current constructions as far as timing?
Yeah, we're probably looking at a couple months.
Yeah.
Couple months, everything will be delayed. And again, when you have two spec projects, that's not the end of the world. I mean, what we try and do when we spec out boats and when we try and deliver them is be able to launch a boat in May, tweak it, and then be able to make sure the customer can use it in the med for the med summer season. And then if it's coming back here, which most of the next 4 deliveries will all come to this side of the Atlantic, and we'll be used in the Caribbean, Bahamas, and Florida in the north and the East Coast. So we always try and time them where they can use them. But with this, that's gonna the 54 meter and the 40 meter that we're supposed to deliver soon it's not gonna happen, unfortunately.
Yeah. How far along are the 2 spec boats right now?
The 43 meter, you're looking at about 14 to 16 months, depending on how you do it, depending on how the customer wants to do it, and any modifications that they want to make. And the next 48 meter, you're about 2 years from now. We've just started because we recently sold. We were doing another 48 on spec, and we sold that at the end of 2019 to, again, Brazilian who lives in Miami, and so that thankfully is sold. So we just started the next one.
Yeah, right. And with the strength of the dollar right now, is that that obviously will, I think from an American point of view, are you seeing more Americans, or where are you seeing right now from being, making the inquiries for new construction?
Yeah, that's been the case. I mean, in the last 2 years, the dollar has continued to strengthen to the euro. And I mean, our next few customers, we have, like I said, Brazilian living in Miami, 2 Americans, and a Mexican. Mm-hmm. So most of the activity right now is all coming from this side of the Atlantic, which is great. Now, as I said, we did sign a letter of intent 3 weeks ago to a European, which is great. But most of the inquiries, the leads that we're getting, the people we're talking to are on this side of the Atlantic, especially with the way the economy has been the last 2 years, and again with the dollar strengthening. It's no big equation. It's easy to determine that most stuff is coming from here. So again, we'll kind of see how things shake out in the next few months. But we've been very thankful for the activity that we've had for a shipyard that, up until a few years ago, really wasn't that well known in the Americas. And with 4 deliveries that are coming here, and some of these guys are going to be keeping their boats in pretty high profile places in New York and Bahamas and down here. So, I mean, that's going to be wonderful exposure for our shipyard, is to see more product here. Because as you know, Mike, I mean, if you don't know the shipyard, if you haven't been on a Valleto, if you haven't touched and felt it and smelt it, it's hard to convey that to a customer.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's true. I think that's why, for us, is from a sales organization, why it's so important for us to visit, whether it's you guys or just shipyards.
You should visit everybody. Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to really understand or really appreciate the difference from one to the next. And that, which leads into kind of, another question is like, what do you feel like really sets Valleto apart from other, whether it's Italian shipyards or really anywhere else in the world?
Yeah, the thing that we strive for is customization. You know, we have a line that you can choose from. We have a plain hull line, we have semi-displacement, we have displacement. The 43 meter, the 48 meter, and the 55 meter are three boats that are platforms that are proven, that we've sold many boats off of. And you can go and choose one of those, and we, you know, like I said, we continue to build these boats. But what we are really anxious to do are customization, our custom builds. Again, you know, 2 to 3 deliveries per year, 5 to maybe 7 boats in the shed. We actually just built another shed at the shipyard. But that's what we really want to do. We can take anything and engineer, tank test it, work with any interior designer, exterior designer. And I could sit here and list you about 10, 12 interior and exterior designers that we're currently working with and build anything. And to give you a good example, the 40 meter for the race pilot house for the American Horatio boats were designed didn't exist. The 54 meter is a 54 meter that's almost 900 GT. And to give you some scale, the 55 meter that we launched is 750 GT. So it's actually smaller than the 55, but significantly more GT or interior volume. The 38 meter that we signed in Miami for an American, he essentially saw a 65 meter that we launched at Monaco, a concept by Francesco Paskowski. He said, I want that, but I want it condensed to fit my dock, which is 38 meters. And we were able to work with the designer and the customer in order to create that. So we're creating things that have never existed before. And so that's really what we strive for. We don't just have a line of boats and choose one and that's it. That's what you got. No, if you want to change something, if you want to do something, we can do that. And we can design, tank, test, and engineer a new platform and give whatever the customer is looking for. And that's really what all of our customers are as well. They are seasoned yachtsmen, so they know what they're doing.
Right.
Good or bad, but they know what they're doing, and they know this is where I want a boat. So this is the speed I want. This is the draft that I need because this is where I like to go in the Bahamas. This is what I want to do in New York. So this is what these are the experiences I'm looking for. I'm going to charter, so let's do this. I want a really large master, and so they come in already knowing exactly what they want.
Right.
We
right.
provide that.
So yeah, just as a reminder to anyone watching that we are open for questions as well. We have one here from Peter. He's asking, so with delays, and this may be more towards me, but with delays in new builds, will there be an increase in demand for quality brokerage boats? And I'll just give feedback from my point of view on quality brokerage boats. I think like late model or newer brokerage boats. And I think in past, whether it's recessions where there has been either sort of a hold on new construction or delays in this case, is that there typically will be a higher demand for late model brokerage boats, but oftentimes that can be sort of a short-term fill. Either while the boats, while they're considering or looking at having a new boat being built, or for availability, which, in your case, Grant, you have spec boats that are being built and are going to be launched here in the near future with a couple of month delay, which is not, too significant at this point. But I think, yeah, there will be a delay or a demand for further late model boats for sure.
Yeah, you would obviously know that a whole lot more than I would. But I would agree. I think that there will be demand. And that's why I think that charter is going to get in demand. Because when we get the green light to go back to somewhat normal life, I think that people want to go boating. They want to get out there. They want to do something. They want to spend some money. And I think charter will come back quickly as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. How many employees do you guys have on site now?
We have 250.
250, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how much of the work, I know we've gone through this and going through the yard, but how much of that work is done in-house?
Well, all the boats that are built is all subcontractors. Mm-hmm. And then we have our project engineers, our project managers that are in offices that are on site as well. But in terms of the actual guys that are building the boats, it's all subcontracted.
Right.
And we, when Mr. Gavio purchased the shipyard in 2012, put about 22 million euro into it. And our CEO comes from an engineering and production background. And so he demands quality and the cleanliness in the shipyard. As you've seen, it's a beautiful facility there, and he runs a very tight ship. at the shipyard. And we just added on to another shed so we can take on further projects. And also we do refit as well. You know, when customers come back to us, especially Yacht owners, where we want to help them out and get their boats back into the shipyard for any type of maintenance as well. So there needs to be room to do that.
What do you see as the biggest challenges ahead?
You know, for us with what we're doing, face-to-face is so much easier to get deals across the board. I mean, whether you pop on a plane to New York or over to the shipyard to see a client, you know, when what we're doing and the investment that these customers are making and the time investment that they're making as well, is that they have to be at the shipyard. They have to feel it, touch it, just like most boats as well. They got to get there. So for us, it's what I'm concerned about is when can we get back to a sense of normalcy where we can hop on a plane and go see a customer face to face and sketch out a boat, or talk about fabrics or stones on the interior, talk about the draft that they're going to need, the speed, the experiences that they're looking for, and then make a trip to the shipyard and go through current boats that are under construction and see how they're being built and point out why this is quality, why we do this, why nobody else does this. And then we always have 3 or 4 boats that are at the shipyard that are essentially resting as their owners are not using them. And they're always happy to let us take customers through current boats that are sitting there as well. So they can see boats in certain stages of production, and then they can see final product as well. And that's a big part of our selling tool. And, you know, until we can kind of get back to that, it's, you know, we gotta tread water here and continue to move forward with what we have. But, you know, that's a big part of our business. And even on the brokerage side and your side, what you guys are doing, it's that face-to-face time with customers so they can trust you, they can get to know you. And then showing the product and showing the differences between this boat and that boat. And when it comes to when new stuff is getting at the shipyard and going through it, you know, that's a big part of our job.
Do you see, so, you know, it's like we just found out, what was it, yesterday or the day before? So Palm Beach, they're going to, for the Palm Beach boat show, in lieu of that, they're doing a virtual boat show, which,
yeah,
you know, it doesn't add a tremendous amount of value, something like that, given you can go to websites as it is and kind of see through everything. But it's still, you know, it's still another way to check everything out. Do you see, it's like looking ahead for future boat shows? You know, boat shows are obviously very important for us, as they are for you, especially given, you know, how critical that face time is. How, what shows do you guys have planned coming up?
Well, we do the 3 here. Miami, Palm Beach, and Fort Lauderdale, and then we do Monaco, Genoa, and Cannes on the in September. And you know, the virtual boat shows are a great thing. You know, Henderson has been doing, MarineMax has been doing, and I think that they're a great thing to do. It's a great way to further your relationship with your customer, and probably put some leads together. I don't know how many of those get across the finish line, but it's a good way to, I think, forward the buying process or forward the selling process. But that's a big question is how do boat shows look moving forward through all this? And as you know, they're huge financial commitments. So, you know, with Miami being taken away, or with Palm Beach being taken away, I think it puts more importance on boat shows. And I think it puts more importance on making boat shows a good experience and a good journey for the customer, so they can make it more than just a boat show, so they can enjoy themselves, and they know that they can't miss it, because look what happens. I mean, Palm Beach was just stripped from us, and so we are heavily reliant on boat shows because it's a great opportunity for people to come in. So I think that we need to kind of rethink boat show structures and really realize how important they are and how important it is for customers to come in and where you can sit down. Because for us, you know, at a boat show, we have our CEO, we have the architects, we have project managers, you know, everybody comes in, and everybody from the shipyard. So when a customer comes in, they don't just talk to guys like me, they can talk to everybody else. Their designers are there. And so you really forward the process during the boat shows. And I think this whole thing, one thing I've taken away is how important those boat shows are moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think you know.
And as far as I know, speaking with Informa, who owns Monaco, at this point, they have no plans to delay Monaco, and I believe that's the same for Cannes as well. So the next big shows that we have coming up are on schedule, which is good to hear.
Yeah, no, which it is great. I think it'll be interesting. Just as kind of time moves forward and seeing how comfortable people are getting out and about. But yeah, boat shows are extremely important for both new builds and new construction, because it's a way to meet us in person, and like you said, meet your entire team and kind of see what you guys are all about.
Exactly.
So if there's any more questions out there that anyone needs or wants to ask, now is a good opportunity. Anything new construction related or otherwise is now's the time. Or Will, if you want anything to add.
Yeah, actually, Grant, I was curious. You mentioned before the Baglietto is building for the Italian military. Just curious, what if you can divulge that? What are you all doing?
Yeah, so we've done a few in the past, and the sister shipyard CCN has done them in the past as well. They're essentially smaller, almost look like gunboats. They're about 13 meters long, jet drives, very powerful, and essentially a gun mounted on the front, and then almost like a landing craft where you can fit in, I don't know how much it is, probably 18 to 20 troops, all seated very tightly in the aft part of the boat, and huge, very shallow draft, very fast, very powerful, and they look like they are military boats. They're pretty neat, and so we've done quite a few of those in the past, and most shipyards have actually. So they're neat. I've actually had the chance of being on one. There's absolutely no luxury associated with these things. They are usually built of aluminum, fast, raw, and they're neat. They're neat. We had one at the Via Reggio show last May, just to put it on display to show that we still can and do build these things.
Very good. Well, I could ask you a million questions, Grant, but we are running out of time here, so I do want to say thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you for having me. These are like I said, these are great things to do to connect with the yachting community, and we'll continue to do them until we can get back to normal.
Yeah, and for anyone that has that wants to hear more or has specific questions, you can certainly reach out to me direct, and I can put you in touch with Grant or Baglietto. So but we really appreciate the opportunity, Grant, in kind of going over what's going on with new construction in the shipyard right during this environment. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So next week, to you all sitting at home, we're going to be speaking with Jared Bursler, who's the captain of Pipe Dreams, a 46-meter Trinity. He's going to give us his summer outlook for famous cruising grounds like the Caribbean, New England, and other hot spots. We also want to talk to him about how COVID-19 has impacted both his crew and just the general operations of his vessel. So I think that'll be another great conversation. And I should add, you don't need to have a 150-footer to derive some serious value from next week, which will take place at the same time as this week. So we're on to Thursdays at 10 a.m. and we can't wait to see you then. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. See you next time.